thank you very much for watching Nurse Talks.
Cannot be replaced.
Today I'm going to talk about clinical trials. So what is a clinical trial? Clinical trials, these are studies or research which is about finding new treatments or new ways of investigating a disease and detecting a disease, and as well as finding new ways of treating medical conditions. For example, you have a new drug being developed, and before this is going to be sold into the market, it has to undergo through tests or experimentations. That's what a clinical trial is. It's about experimenting these medications, or it could be a medical product, and to see if it works. With regards to clinical trials, sometimes there's what you call as double-blind studies. If you've heard about a double-blind study is the researcher and as well as the patient or the subject or the participant is not aware that the substance is the drug or a placebo. This is very, very important because it avoids bias. Now, going back to clinical trials comes in different phases. There are 4 major phases, but before the phases kick in, there is what we call as the preclinical studies. So preclinical studies, these are studies wherein, like for example, you have a drug, the drug is being tested to animals, and from there they see if the drug works. Once this has been established, then this is then where the phases kick in. Now let's start with phase 1. Phase 1 is a study wherein you test, let's say if it's about a drug, then you test it in a smaller population. So normally around 30 to 80 participants. The key thing about phase 1 is that it involves healthy volunteers, because the aim of this is mainly about finding the right dosage, or it could also be about finding side effects as well, but mainly it's all about tolerability, or how the body can tolerate the drug, or at what level can the body tolerate the drug. So mainly it's about dosage. Now you have phase 2, which now will involve an even larger population, a little bit larger than that of phase 1. So it could be ranging around 100 to 300 participants. And the aim of this is mainly about safety and efficacy, and to see also again if it works. And if in phase 1 you have healthy volunteers, in phase 2 this is now where the unhealthy volunteers are being invited for the study. So meaning they already have the disease or the condition, and the drug, or let's say medical product, is being tested. Phase 3. Phase 3 is also what is called as a pivotal study, because it can either make or break the study. So once the study is really successful and really have very, very good results, then they go to phase 4. That's why it's called pivotal. If the study doesn't have very, very good results, then it may not go through phase 4. Now what is phase 3? Phase 3, an even larger population than that of phase 2, usually reaching 1,000 participants or more than 1,000 participants. And the aim of phase 3 is more on testing the long-term effectiveness. And still they may test again about the side effects. I think the key thing about phase 3 is that it's a pivotal study. Once there is good data that the drug really works or the medical product really works, then it will receive approval from the FDA, or the Food and Drug Authority. So once that has been established, then it goes through phase 4, which is the post-marketing phase, and the aim for this is still to continue further their study about the safety and efficacy of the drug, and as well as to find out rarer side effects. Like there could be a side effect that occurs in 1 in 1,000 population. On top of that, they may have studies wherein the drug is going to be compared with other drugs. So these are now what we call as comparability studies, to see if this drug being developed works better than that of the other. and vice versa, whatever they can really think of and how they can compare these things. Now, with regards to clinical trials, I may be talking about the different phases and the number of participants, and when you read through books, sometimes these can be overlapping. Like I mentioned about phase 1, for example, it will involve, let's say, I mentioned like about 80 participants. In some books, they might tell you around 100 or more than 100 participants. It doesn't really matter. It's just slight variations, but the key thing is that in phase 1, it's going to be tested in a smaller population, phase 2 an even a little bit larger population, and this is also where the unhealthy volunteers are invited, and in phase 3, even larger population. These are pivotal studies, and in phase 4, your post-marketing studies. So there you have it. That's a glimpse of clinical trials, just a major summary of what are the phases of clinical trials.